People need to know that this was the scope of damage that we victims went through was tremendous. It was devastating.
Tonight, a victim of priest sex abuse, one of dozens of survivors being shut out of the Diocese compensation program. But this man's story is different.
It suggests the historical abuse we have seen in the Buffalo Catholic Diocese may go beyond priests. And as 7 Eyewitness News Chief Investigator Charlie Speck finds, there are others who may have looked the other way or even played a role.
It started with the type of offer that, for a working-class kid from Tonawanda, was hard to pass up.
Father Dave announced that he was going to take all the altar boys onto a boat as kind of a thanks.
It was the 1970s, and David Harvey still remembers being led down the stairs of a boat as an 8-year-old boy by Father David Peter of St. Edmund's Catholic Church in Tonawanda. It was described as a private tour for Harvey and other altar boys, but by the time he turned around, Harvey says the priest was practically on top of him.
I knew that I was in trouble. And
Harvey's story is different from so many of the other horrible stories of sexual abuse because it goes beyond the priest and involves 2 adults who knew of the abuse but looked the other way.
it is my belief that this boat trip was intentionally set up to abuse all these boys.
Harvey says the boat was owned by a local family that is prominent in the business community. He can still remember the face of the man who stood in the doorway and watched as the priest abused him.
And the other guy, he just kept on staring at me, and I just looked in his eyes. I couldn't look away from him. He was watching it. I mean, obviously knew what was happening, kind of like feasting on my fear.
Harvey may have saved his twin brother from being abused. He insisted the priest stay away from his brother when he tried to take other boys on tours of the boat.
Father Dave said, "Who's next?" And I immediately looked at my brother and a friend who he invited to come with us, and I said, my brother and my friend are not going down.
Harvey kept the abuse inside for years, fearful of the priest's threatening words.
He said if I say anything that he was going to harm my brother, and I took it that he was going to kill him.
Father Peter had a 36-year career in the diocese, retiring in 2002 and dying 2 years ago. During the 1970s, when Harvey says he was abused, Father Peter was assigned to St. James Church in Buffalo, then reassigned to St. Agatha's in South Buffalo, then St. John the Baptist in Lockport, and finally St. Edmund's in Tonawanda.
I find it very difficult to believe that I'm the only person that has filed a complaint against Father Dave when he's been bounced around from church to church. And that after my experience, as brazen as he was, and after leaving as suspect as his leaving was.
Harvey says he was also abused at the parish, like the time Father Dave insisted the boy take a shower with him after Mass. Multiple times, Harvey says the pastor of the parish was also there, but refused to step in and stop Father Dave.
He just has his back to me, and he's not even saying a word to me. He's not even acknowledged my existence. I'm just a young kid trying to get this guy to help me to speak reason to this other guy trying to get me to take a shower. He knew what was going on. He knew very well what was going on, and he did nothing.
Harvey plans to sue the Catholic Diocese. He's one of dozens of victims who have been excluded from the Diocese settlement program because the church says they did not report the abuse until last year.
I found it highly offensive that me as an 8-year-old constantly complaining to a priest who did absolutely nothing about it is somehow not eligible for compensation.
Harvey says he called the diocese 3 separate times last year, leaving detailed messages, and got no response. Eventually, he received a call from Auxiliary Bishop Edward Grosch.
He told me that my complaint is invalid. He said, I'm the only one that has complained about him. And he says, and let's be real. He's dead, he can't defend himself. I found him to be very insulting and lacking compassion.
Now, we did reach out to the Diocese of Buffalo, but a spokeswoman declined to comment about these allegations on behalf of Father Peter, who is now deceased, and Bishop Gross. For the I-Team, Charlie Speck, 7 Eyewitness News.